Good evening and welcome. This is the March 9th, 2026 meeting of the school committee. Call the meeting to order 6 o'clock. The meeting is being both audio and video recorded. I would ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Samantha, if you'd start, please.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Antonella Rochelle.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Gregory Thompson.
Amy Delenta.
William Strother.
Barry Drozowski.
Heather Brown, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning.
Caitlin Card, student.
Okay, we have minutes for approval. I take someone to move to approve.
I make a motion to approve the March 2nd, 2026 executive session meeting minutes.
Motion made by Amy.
Second.
Second by William. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed nay. Motion carries 5-0. One more, please.
Make a motion to approve the March 2nd, 2026 regular session meeting minutes.
Motion made by Amy.
Second.
Second by William. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed nay. Motion carries 5-0. Samantha? Committee and subcommittee communications. Antonella, would you like to start?
I don't have anything.
Excellent. Amy. William.
Nothing.
Carrie.
I have something, sorry, it's buried in all my papers. I did go to the eLeaf meeting. They're working on the Freedom 4 Miler, and that registration will be out soon. Also, they're in the process of finalizing, I think they were reaching out to communicate with you about the grant process
Okay.
for
Sending in
staff and educators.
applications are now open.
Yeah, yes, so they are reaching out to get you to share that information. They netted more on the gala this year than last year. I think their net was 50,478.86.
Wow, that's great.
I know.
So while attendance was a little bit less this year than last year, we netted more.
Fantastic.
Yeah, hoping again to give out $55,000 in grants, so
That's great.
I know.
Good work.
they are doing good work.
Caitlin.
I have a couple things. So, spring sports are starting next Monday, March 16th. We have Spartanum this week, Friday and Saturday. And then the freshman and sophomore spring formal is March 27th. And then this Friday, we had a bunch of students from the high school go to Read Across America at Meadowbrook.
Did you go?
No, I didn't. I just know people that did.
Yeah. It's a good experience, I'm sure. Okay, thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate that. Moving along, we have opportunity for visitors to address the committee. Seeing none, we will move forward. We have presentation to superintendent's report, East Long Meadow High School winter status.
Okay, we have our high school administrators here.
Just a little plug on what Caitlin was just talking about, last Spartanum in the old school.
That's true.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, right.
Try to put on a good one. Hope you guys can make it out. It should be a great show.
Last time you can see over 800 people.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So there may be a matinee
Version,
and show
Next year?
to make sure we can fit the same number of crowds.
do a Sunday matinee.
So we're thinking about Saturday matinee, like an afternoon and then evening performance.
2 shows in one day.
3 days, they were talking, is kind of a lot. So it'd be Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening.
Great,
Nice.
good.
Good idea.
stuff.
All right, so we are here tonight for our mid-cycle presentation. I appreciate you guys rescheduling from last month. The first part we're just gonna go through is the child goal, supporting the whole child, and Gary's gonna talk a little bit about some of our attendance data, but also just some of the good stuff that our kids are doing based on a report that we received from the College Board. And then from there, I'll jump into teaching and learning goal, and we'll bring us home by just going through that inclusive supportive culture and climate goal. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
This is pretty straightforward. Our goal being improve attendance data. As of the February 4th initial cutoff, we were at 96.6%. We're seeing also, just anecdotally, we're seeing a big shift in period by period attendance as well. and I took on last year, really broadcasting to parents the number of individual classes that kids were missing, and just significantly fewer warnings and loss of credit notifications this year. So I think that, in addition to this piece of our goal, that step has helped a lot in this area. If we transition to the next slide, we received a silver honor roll award from the College Board, which indicates it's based off a few key indicators, one being that 55% of our students, of our graduating senior class, that's what that data
Last
is.
25, yep.
So 55% of that class took an AP course during their time with us. 42% of that class actually passed in one or more exam to earn college credit. And the interesting piece is that platinum status at the bottom, it tells us that we had 19% of that class successfully take 5 or more AP classes over their career. There's one sitting next to me for this year. There's an interesting story too. We had a student start as a sophomore in college because of their work in this area with us, and another one that's about to, I think. So, but this one is this is something that we don't usually get to share, so we want to insert this one here as well.
That's great.
Does that include dual enrollment at all, or no?
No, these are just exclusively AP coursework.
This is just the AP honor roll, and they give us this report each year based on the previous year's graduating class. So, so when we have 42% of our graduates receiving college credit, that means they scored a 3 or higher on those exams, on at least one exam. So it's not just that we have kids taking classes, but they're also, performing well enough on the test to get that college credit, which is great.
Has there been any conversations about growing the program or adding more courses? 'Cause I know that there's more courses coming out.
So the last couple of years, we've been able to do that with AP Human Geo, the AP Seminar course. So that reaches us down into 9th grade now. So we have a 9th grade offering, a 10th grade offering. We get to revolve a few up in the upper grades where we do chemistry and environmental science.
I would love to offer as many APs as we can. We have kind of hit a little bit of a watershed moment with that, with one, we only have so many staff who can teach the courses, like the reason why we're rotating them every other year, where we have the AP Enviro going opposite of AP Chem. It's just, we don't have enough sections to run it. And two, just based on the size of our school, the kids can only take so much, so, I think we're kind of maxing both on the staff side and the student side in terms of how many opportunities we can give them, which is great. I don't have the hard number off the top of my head, but I know we're in the high teens with the number of different AP sections that we run annually.
Bringing in a new physics, AP Physics.
Yes, yeah, which is another one that alternates from AP Physics 2 and AP Physics 8. So, so that's kind of the way we get creative with it, is because we can't offer all of them every year. We try to rotate different ones just to give kids different opportunities. Okay, so jumping into the next part, just going through teaching and learning. This goal is connected to some of the results from our second IXL diagnostic. What I ended up doing was actually reversing the slides for this part and going through the action steps first and then the data second. So if you're looking at your packets, data slides we'll come back to. But what I wanted to talk about just quickly is a little bit about why we are running this universal screener and going through this diagnostic, and then some of the action steps based on the data that we've always gone through, but then some of the additional ones based on what we're seeing and how we're seeing our students perform now, how we're shifting a little bit to better address some of the things that we're seeing and how we can remediate that going forward. So just generally, there's two things that we look at when we run our IXL diagnostic. This is the universal screener. First, we use them to identify students who need intervention support for both immediate and long-term structured support, like the work happening in our support classes and our team structures. The picture above is an example from one of our ELHS Foundation teacher rosters. That data is used to create lesson plans for their support blocks that address gaps in learning. So you're looking at individual student data and building individual lesson plans to support the students in those spaces. When we have gaps or deficiencies. So this is specific to one of our foundations classes, which is one of our special education support blocks. So we do look at it in that way, where we have teachers who are digging in to their individual rosters and seeing where they might be able to support kids in those smaller group settings. So a lot of the stuff you see happen when in our special education courses, and also where we identify students to potentially be part of our team the following year, or continue to support them if they're members of the team during that year. So for rising freshmen, we're looking at the iReady data to identify the students that might need support going into freshman year, and then sophomore year, we have that more targeted group that we worked with and we use the IXL data as part of that to give them that sustained support sophomore year. Jumping down to the next slide. I think the slide's got, can we go one more? Yep. So this should have been the second one, sorry. So on a,
Next one.
So on a classroom level, what we're using diagnostic for is for our teachers and students.
I can see it. Sorry. There you go.
Sorry, I shuffled them today. All right, so we use them to inform our teachers about how their students are progressing in their classes over the course of the year. So our approach is for staff to both individually and departmentally analyze our students' content-specific standard performance data in the related classes. So I know we'll look at that holistic snapshot where you can kind of see how kids are, whether they're on grade level or below grade level or significantly below grade level. But I see more value in looking at some of these standard reports where we can see whether or not the kids are mastering the specific standards connected to the courses that they're taking. So for the teachers who are teaching algebra and teachers who are teaching geometry, we have the teachers going through and looking at so there's some standard reports in there where you might see low performance against that standard, but sometimes the diagnostic assesses kids on standards they haven't been taught yet. So we're looking back at the ones that they have been taught, but we're still seeing weakness in their data. So this approach doesn't just look at individual students, but also looks holistically at where students either did or did not master standards. So based on what we saw in the data from the second diagnostic, which we definitely saw some issues in there. What we worked with our math and English department, and based on that second diagnostic, what we asked them to do, because you can't necessarily hit everything right now, but also continue with your curriculum, identify 5 priority standards for each content area. So if it's algebra, we're looking at the algebraic standards. If it's, the students in geometry, we're looking at those geometry standards. And ones that have been previously taught, and also cross-reference them with ones that are commonly assessed on the MCAS, and use those for either enrichment activities or reteaching, or even just reviewing ones that they've already gone through, and they may now be seeing deficiencies in the data on the second IXL diagnostic. So we asked each department, math and English, to hone in on 5 different standards that we're calling those priority standards, where we see overlap between deficiencies and also potential MCAS areas of focus to try to remediate some of those skills as we go through the spring. And then, sorry, Gordon, you can go back one slide, because they're a little out of order. So just long term, because we are looking at the IXL data, and it does look different than some of the scores that we saw last year, and we have some concerns about it. We want to hit on a couple different things going into next year to try to remediate some of these skills, but also address some of the issues we see with maybe how our students are approaching the diagnostic. So on the math side, because even if, and I've been candid with, some of our central office staff that have some questions about how much our students are putting in terms of effort and fidelity to the assessment. But with that, there's definitely, you see gaps on the, between, even with the English scores not necessarily being the best, there's still a significant gap between students being either at or below grade level on the math side. So there's definitely issues we want to dig into on the math. So one thing we're looking at going into next year is expanding our Algebra 1 course and moving it from 4 to 6 credits. So this change will allow our math department just to provide additional instructional time, allowing teachers to explore Algebra 1 concepts in greater depth while reinforcing key skills in mathematics, literacy, and executive functioning within the context of that course. So we are looking at making that course have 50% more time, and in doing so, slow things down and get more into the content going into next year for our freshmen, okay? So the goal is to strengthen students' foundational understanding and better support the success in the future of math coursework. So that's standard level offering for our freshmen. You know, the math department came to me with this idea of maybe how to address some of these needs. So when we're talking about those students transitioning into the high school and our department saying those kids who might be in that group who need a little bit more support on the math side, if they're advocating for that and they're asking for more time and we can build it into our schedule, I'm going to support it all day.
So what,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
will all ninth graders take this, be in
So
this?
any student who
Section or-
be in standard Algebra 1. So the pacing in the honors Algebra 1 and geometry and geometry honors would stay. So those would stay at 4 credits, and they feel confident that they can continue at their same pacing and cover the curriculum and make sure those students master the standards without expanding it. Our students who need more time to absorb the material, which is our standard offering for that algebra class, is where we're talking about expanding it.
How much time would be added?
So right now we have 135 instructional blocks each year, 55 minutes. Going into next year, 50 minutes. It's at 50 minutes. Going into next year, we'd be adding hopefully and potentially 45 additional blocks of teaching. So we'd be going all the way up to 180.
And this would be in lieu of the foundations, but it would be, targeted.
Yeah, so
Kids wouldn't
typically,
be missing out on anything because they would normally take foundation.
yeah, so typically what we do is with our algebra students, stack the algebra with a foundations block, and that's the block where we have the kids focus a lot on IXL. Going into next year, we want to take those 4 credits of foundations that we've been giving them and make that just purely dedicated to algebra. We found when our students are assigned to foundations, even though it's supposed to be that support for math and English, based on the name, they don't always take it as seriously and don't see it as fully that math course. So the hope is going into next year when we identify strictly as part of that algebra section, but also it allows us to really hone in and focus in on the curriculum by spreading it out.
What curriculum is used?
Real math.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's what would be used for the I think it's 90 minutes.
Yeah, we have all the units mapped out. So right now we have a scope and sequence that goes from September to June in the 135 lessons, where you'd be pulling out 2 units per, so basically that 2 credits going to end up being like 2 terms. We have the 2 credits pulled out, the 2 units pulled out that would go into each one of those terms to slow down the curriculum in the algebra course, and then we'd embed those into the 2 credit class.
It'll be with the same math teacher, correct?
Not necessarily,
Not necessarily.
Oh, it's not,
yes.
because I thought they would just stay with that math teacher for that added time.
So it would be, obviously it'd be a math teacher from the department, like they have it mapped out where they would be covering the same content,
And currently in the foundations course, it's not necessarily a math teacher who's teaching the foundations course.
They rotate, they alternate between the math and the English teacher, so they flip-flop, so it's a combination of math and English support.
Yeah.
But for that 2 credit section, the idea would be to basically all run them during the same time, so the scope and sequence would be the same, we run it during the same block, and the kids would have it at that same time. So if you might be in a math class down the hall, and we'd be covering the same lesson at the same time.
Is there a reason why you wouldn't just extend the algebra period so that they're just in there? So they're usually in there for 50 minutes,
Yes.
right? And you wanted to add another 30?
It'd be another 15-minute block.
Oh, another 15 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, so
It basically becomes a year and a half course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a sense, yeah. So when I do my program of studies presentation, I'll have that mapped out for you guys so you can see exactly how it's gonna play out. This is just something that we've been talking through. And right now we're looking at it as, we'll call it anticipated course change. But I will bring that to you guys so you can see exactly how we're gonna lay it out.
There are other districts that are doing this?
So part of where this is coming from is Hampton Wilbraham. They require 2 semesters of algebra at 90-minute lessons a day. So when you go into the upper grades, they are semester-based, but they go 2 consecutive semesters for 90-minute blocks.
And they have data to show that it's boosted the student performance, or?
So I that's always been their model, so I don't know what I don't have like that comparative data from like prior to, I'm not sure if they've ever had it as just a semester-based course for. But again, the proposal here is to take one of the foundations courses which they're already taking, getting that support and making it specific to a math block. And then opposite that, where it used to alternate with English and math, we are gonna look at giving the students an elective choice. So they actually would be picking up an elective in the opposite block that would run at the same time.
Next slide.
And just talking about the English side, just continuing down the slide here. So going into next year, so the English department plans to integrate the IXL diagnostic and its results more into the fabric of the curriculum. So more so on the English side than on the math side. The diagnostic has kind of been seen by our students as a little bit separate from the content being covered in the courses. So by taking some of the data that they're seeing in there and adjusting their practice, and also potentially even adjusting their focus on different assessments based on the areas of deficiency they might see on the diagnostic. Their hope is to make this just more a part of what happens in those classes. So the kids will know, like, if we're seeing this weakness when it comes to diagnostic, you might be having this more of the focus on your next writing assignment. You can always adjust those rubrics based on what areas you might want to hone in on for any given assignment, whether it's a thesis, whether it's, explanation, embedding the evidence into your writing, whatever it might be. But that was one of those areas of feedback that we had for English is that they do really want to integrate the data more into how they move through the year.
This is like jarring me, the bar graph here. I don't know if it's been projected.
She's jumped the slide.
It's coming.
I don't know.
coming.
Okay.
One.
Get there yet.
Okay, sorry, I think I have the wrong order in mind.
No, yeah, you're.
He's talking about the solution before the problem. I understand.
I went there first
I got it.
because one of the things we had talked through earlier today was if we just start with the data, some of the questions you might be asking might be answered in the solutions first. So we just wanted to go with those to start. The last piece, which I do want to share, is just based on some of, I don't want to say concerns, but some of the questions we have around the current diagnostic and whether it's giving us the information that we want. We are talking about building departmental assessments that are more, we'll call them, content-specific diagnostics connected to our curriculum within the system that might be more reflective of what we're covering, and also might, as the English department said, go more into the fabric of our classes. One of the areas of, we'll just say, question again, is when we're going through the diagnostic data for math, for example. I sat with the math department, we went through this, and the kids were performing poorly on the diagnostic on content areas they haven't been taught yet. So true reflection of where they are in terms of this point in the year. I think that's the questions that we have. So.
And Frank, the questions that they would use to build these common assessments would be vetted IXL questions?
Vetted IXL questions that would give us standard specific data that would also, so IXL is connected to the Reveal curriculum. I don't know if they have a connection to the Odell curriculum, but they definitely do to the Mass State standards on the ELA side, so we could build something connected to things specifically being assessed in our classes.
Basically, you're creating the assessments more in line with how the units are taught?
Yes, yeah, so the kids aren't being assessed on standards they haven't learned yet.
Got it.
So now, I think the first slide that I have is not this one, right here. So the winter IXL data, these results are in line with the data that we saw back in September in terms of the number of students who were either at or below, significantly below grade level. And obviously, just looking at these generally, like, we have concerns and questions. Just looking at the, that 10th grade cohort where we assessed them last year, we're saying there are 15% that are at or above grade level. That was significantly higher in June. So I have questions around and concerns around that data, And again, just if you're looking holistically, when you jump to the ELA slide, you do see an improvement, but we still have a good chunk of students who are scoring below grade level as IXL diagnostic.
Don't we usually see comparative data with state and?
I was just gonna ask that.
This doesn't provide that.
IXL doesn't provide it,
Ready
everybody does.
You can go through iReady to get that comparative data. IXL is not there yet.
Yeah, they don't have that national comparison or state comparison.
You're basically asking kids to take a 2-day assessment that doesn't count towards their grade. And so we're not sure how much they're taking it seriously.
I think our town manager should have stayed to see this.
I don't know I don't think this is accurate based on, especially the 9th grade and the
Even if it's off a little bit, I mean, this is like absolutely jarring.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the 10th grade. I mean, there's no getting around it. This is highly concerning.
Are there common assessments in the Odell curriculum?
Sorry, I don't mean to take.
Yeah, no, go right ahead.
They're mostly writing, so what these would be assessing reading standards. So they're reading all these texts, then they write something. So essentially you're assessing reading standards, but it's not directly, as opposed to reading a passage and answering questions like you would on the MCAS.
Well, how are they performing on those assessments?
That's what he's talking about doing next year rather than using this data, because it would be more high stakes because it would be connected to their grade.
I mean, there was also a big dip in the MCAS data last year as well. And so I don't know what is right and what's not, because I know things don't count or things count. But it was a pretty big hit last year. And I mean,
I'm concerned about like authentic learning. Like I'm not a proponent of standardized testing by any means, but like, to me, I'm wondering like, what have they missed along the way? Obviously 10th grade there's something going on with some gaps in their learning. Major concerning gaps, but 9th grade too.
If the data is valid, that's the problem.
Even if it's off 10 or 15 percentage points or something.
Right, but why would you have, like, they're doing much better in iReady in 8th grade and then suddenly there's this huge dip? I mean, it could be,
I don't know.
Yeah.
well, I'd also ask, they know that it doesn't count in 8th grade.
Exactly.
So.
But they
what
are,
is the big
so the
difference?
incentives over there, they have all the,
So at the middle school, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't perform well, you end up in a support block.
it's a possibility that you're going to get intervention support.
So why can't we provide any kind of incentives in 9th and 10th grade?
And I think that's the conversation of restructuring how we run the diagnostic to get data that's more valid. I don't want to sit here and explain it away.
Right, what if the data is valid?
And that's very concerning. Yeah.
My concern.
What's that?
That's my concern.
Yeah.
What if this is fair, pretty valid?
So
That we have these
so-
really like, disparate, like that we have like the students that are in the AP and that are excelling, and then everybody else is down here.
So on the math side, if we're looking at that grade 10 cohort in June, I could pull it back up, but that 10th grade cohort in June, we're at 65% at or above grade level math. When we ran that same diagnostic for them in September, so they went from like a 9.9 to a 10.1, it dropped down to about 15%. So I don't think you're going to see that 70% to a 15 or 65 to a 15% drop in skills over the summer. I don't think we have that volume of drop off. So that's where I think some of my concerns around the data does come in. If you're looking at it in comparison to some of the data that I presented last year, with that 10th grade cohort is the 9th grade cohort from last year,
Heather, did you say it's, the information is available to get state and?
No, not yet.
Not at all.
They changed the way they're doing the assessment too. So there's two different ones, and this one looked like we get more valid data, but so the one that you used last year was the Flex.
Yep.
And then they changed this. So IXL is a little harder to understand. I'm not as familiar with it as iReady. They're kind of getting caught up to iReady and all that they do. But they do have that instructional piece that iReady doesn't have for older kids.
So in that, Flex we used last year, is that what you're saying, for
Yes,
assessment?
it's a different IXL.
So in the 9th grade Flex, last year.
They did better.
Significantly better.
Significantly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Should we go back to using that?
that might be another thing. That's.
Not that we want to go
Right.
find a test that works for us, but if it's not valid.
Want to
though.
see versus
Right.
the actual learning.
One of them's valid, one of them's not, right? If one of them's given, one of them has to be valid, or maybe they're both not valid, I don't know.
That's the question.
And if they are, how many towns are using it? How many?
Yeah.
Be a good question too. Do other high schools use this?
Their diagnostic piece is relatively new, so I can look.
Talking about IXL.
IXL, their diagnostic piece. It was always kind of a personalized learning.
Do we know what any other high schools are using?
I can look into it.
I don't know if you,
I can reach out.
I don't know if you guys heard anything.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many.
Because if this isn't good, or it's
Right.
not telling us anything.
So I do think, and we talked about this a little bit last year, but I think now it's probably a bigger conversation. We can build assessments in the system that match what we're doing, which can give us more authentic data. And we can also, by having them connected to what we're doing in our classes, get some accountability from the students doing them. It sounds like that idea is also what the state might be shifting towards, where they're talking about those end of course assessments. So if we take that approach, and Heather and I talked about this the other day, and I've already talked to Math and English about potentially building some of these assessments over the summer and sitting down with the departments when they return. So we can collaborate with them, but we'd have them kind of mapped out, ready to go for each.
So what dictates the pace? If we're modifying our assessments
Yep.
to meet our pace, is our pace wrong?
So our pace is aligned to the standards that the
Is.
state maps out.
Okay.
And
The state comes with assessments, they'll be aligned with the pace, and we're on that pace, we're saying.
If the
that would
state
be
does it,
my-
the state's basically saying, you're teaching this and you better be on pace.
Right.
yeah.
Which probably makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That we assess what we teach.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think one of the historical bigger pieces here is that your teachers bought in because of the personalized learning and some of the things that they could do in terms of remediation and helping students where they've identified challenges. So now, if you have that buy-in and they're willing to use the platform to build common assessments, we may get what we want.
Yeah.
It's just taking more time to get there.
I just want to stress this too, and just to hit on what Gordon's talking about, IXL is not just a diagnostic program. There's a lot of other resources within the program that our teachers do utilize. They use them for activators. They use them sometimes for homework assignments. They'll use them to reteach material when they see the kids are struggling on different topics. So it is being utilized as a program, and there's definitely value on the teaching and instruction side. So even if the diagnostic might not be giving us what we want, there's other values to the program that I see constantly, especially when you're digging into some of this data that we have students who might be in academic support blocks or in our foundations blocks where they can have some of those more targeted in-depth lessons when they see that this small cohort of 5 to 10 kids might be struggling around this topic, so let's practice this. Like, we do see that, and that's that first slide when I started going through the teaching and learning about how it is utilized in those ways. So even if some of this grade-wide diagnostic data might not be what we want, so
are we going to abandon IXL? Is that what we're?
I don't want to.
Well, we don't,
I think,
that's what we're saying, we don't.
But as an assessment tool?
within IXL, I can build diagnostics that are aligned to our scope and sequence. A better word is not diagnostic.
Better than IXL can do it, is my question.
We're
So
utilizing the IXL questions to align more to the standards in the order that we teach them.
because IXL is not aligned with the standard pacing.
So the way this works is like the iReady, where it will ask a bunch of questions based on where the kid is at. And if they start having a hard time, they'll make it easier and harder and things like that. So it's computer adaptive. The Flex allowed some more, flexibility. And this is an emerging market for a lot. Like iReady did not have a high school universal screener until a few years ago. So I think they're still working out the kinks, because a lot of high schools, you can get all this universal screening data, but if you don't have things like the foundation piece in, like, there's not much you can do with the data to really intervene. And so I think that's also, it's like trying to get real data, but also data that we can utilize.
Because we're not using any of this data.
No,
right?
it's not.
So,
How can we?
We are
we?
using it, we're breaking it down.
Yeah.
We're going more towards the reports on the standards.
Yes.
And so what they're doing, they're not ignoring the data. What they're doing is trying to go through the data in order to look and say, okay, what standards do I need to reteach?
yeah, so if you scroll up to slide 6, it's the one with the blue bars on it.
Yeah.
So we also get this report. So this is from the geometry standards. So you can break it out by content area, and there's every single geometry standard is listed, and they'll show you which questions were assessed and how the students performed on each question. So you can see for standard GCA1, right? Prove all circles are similar. Our students performed decently, right? 65% of our students got that question correctly. But then that next one, GCA2, only 6% of our students answered that question correctly. I don't remember if this screenshot I gave you, if GCA2 is a standard they have taught yet or not, but if that's one that they have taught and our students did not perform well, that'd be an example of one they would go back to and either do an enrichment activity or reteaching.
Why would we have asked the question if they hadn't taught it yet? And should we have taught it if we know the question's coming?
So,
I mean, it's chicken or the egg.
So the universal screener will just arbitrarily pick questions that are connected to.
But shouldn't it only pick questions from the curriculum that we already taught?
That's not how the
I think that's where the problem lies with high school, where, it's a little bit more uniform in elementary school and even middle school. But once you start really differentiating, especially something like math, with the geometry standards, right?
I was gonna say though, but I'm assuming, all that considered, I'm assuming that your teachers must be seeing, if we go back to 9th grade algebra, that there are students that are still really struggling to keep pace. So that's what I'm curious about, is what we know, the performance in the classroom. And so it sounds like what you haven't said explicitly is we know also that they're not performing at the level that we would like to see them.
Especially in the
It's probably not as bad as this diagnostic is
Correct.
making it look, but it's not great.
Right.
Yes.
And so why is that?
So algebra is a building block for later years of math, right? So geometry is a different type of math that can be taught at a different pace, where we're not looking to expand that curriculum to 6 credits like we are with algebra. Algebra is the building block for algebra 2, right? So typically when we see skill deficiencies, they don't show up during their sophomore year. They start to show up in their junior year when they're taking that algebra 2 course and they haven't built that foundation freshman year that they need, So really by expanding that, we're talking about fixing that for later years. and making sure that the kids get everything that they do need, because we do see gaps that we want to make sure our kids have filled.
And what would you identify as the gaps on the English, on the language writing side, reading comprehension? I mean, there's still, I don't know, maybe it's the tool, but are we also feeling like?
The tool is not a great resource for giving us writing information, because obviously it's a multiple choice test, so they're not actually sitting there writing and being evaluated on their writing. When it's evaluating writing, it's asking to identify different types of mechanics and grammar mechanics and how they might utilize them. So when we're looking at those strands.
Which we're actually doing very well in.
What's that?
Which we're actually doing very well in, the conventions.
Yeah. So that's not a great resource to look at writing. I think when we're going to do that, we're going to be doing things in our classes where we're going to get information from those. And I think another space where, and I highlighted this back in the fall, an area that we want to focus in our English classes is around writing based on the MCAS scores that we saw, because that's an area where we get true writing data. There's nothing that the kids are writing in this diagnostic that gives us writing data versus when they do the MCAS, they do. Because if you look at, just to hit on that, because I think that question came up with the dip in our scores for math and English. On the math side, in almost every single standard and cluster, we scored above the state average. I think that's a good comparison. In English, where we were below the state average was in writing. So that's definitely an area that we have to hone in on. But outside of that, if we're looking at that comparison data, because we saw dips across the state on the MCAS, we performed above the state average in a lot of different areas in math and English. And then science, we were above the state average in every standard.
But to get back to Antonella, I think we do need to think about incentives to get the kids to
I think
It's a
we need to
combination
try to
of
be
both,
more.
yeah.
on the AMCAS.
On the MCAS, and I mean, even maybe on this, I don't know if we should just completely be like, no, we're not doing it. Because ELA 9th and 10th grade standards are the same. So I'm not sure why. I mean, I know that math is more complicated and what they're teaching, and there's different standards. But ELA is the same. So,
Well, the incentive for writing the common assessments would be you'd be assessing those standards and it would be part of the course. So I'm not going to just click, right?
I get it, but I also feel like depending on who's grading something, it's also, it can also be different.
No, that.
It would be graded by IXL.
Here, so it would be a lot vetted questions.
But
Graded by
writing
IXL.
assignments.
The writings was subjective.
Right, and that's what I thought you were just talking about.
No, sorry, I was going back to.
Could score, you could
assessments.
score
I was like, I thought
holistically,
that's what you were
and
just
you could
talking
have
about.
team scoring.
Good.
Yeah. If the department creates it, they could also create the rubric and,
Calibrate.
yeah. And so when they go to these common assessments, they could score it as a department.
And I feel like that was one of the pluses of having the standardized test. Like, you had a group of people grading these things where instead of just having like this one person grading this, so.
Mr. Page, I actually have a question. So at this point, like you have like ninth graders that are taking, like I took geometry as a ninth grader. So like that's not like the standard, is it? So like people are like going in and like doing algebra when they they took it like last year in like 8th grade when they're in ninth grade.
So typically the students who take algebra as freshmen took pre-algebra in 8th grade. And then the ones who take Algebra 1 honors most likely took algebra in 8th grade, but did not perform well on the end of course assessment. And then geometry students are, as freshmen, are ones who took algebra as 8th graders and passed the end of course assessment.
But could that be like a reason why it's so low? Because like people aren't like remembering because they took it last year?
Possibly.
To keep the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, so when it comes to the diagnostic, we've done it's 6 different like buckets, we'll call them, or what they call strands, where it's on different skills connected, like, so right up there right now is ELA, but on the math side, there's 6 different buckets that they hit on. which have some type of foundation in all of those different content areas. So like what Ms. Brown just said, though, is even though you may have not taken algebra since 8th grade, especially when you're going into your junior year and you're taking that Algebra 2 course, which is kind of the traditional pathway, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, we want to make sure you retain those skills so you are successful in that Algebra 2 course. So that's why really taking our time and building that foundation is why we're hoping to expand it.
That was a very thoughtful question.
Yes.
Heather, I know I keep going back to the comparison of national and state. Is there a way we can contact IXL?
I did.
and say,
Yeah.
Is their diagnostic tool valid? Are they finding?
They're going to tell me it's.
Well, but are they? Are they going to say we're finding these same results or not?
Yeah.
That's the question. If the tool is not valid, then that's one thing. If the tool is valid,
Right.
that's a separate.
And this is year one of their new level up assessment, so.
But they must have other districts that are using it.
Yeah, I think I would get more information by researching other districts who are using it than actually going to IXL because.
Can we look into that? Because if we're going to continue with IXL,
Jimmy?
even if we don't use the diagnostic tool, we should know if it's a valid tool or not.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Moving to the next slide.
Yeah, I think, so it kind of takes us to the end of teaching and learning, unless we have any last questions, and I'm going to turn it over to Ann.
Okay, so the last two slides are on inclusive and supportive culture and climate. And the first slide, we're really focusing on what we're doing on a school-wide basis. And then the last slide, we're focusing on what we're doing like at the classroom level. And so if you look, basically we've developed some partnerships with students and their families because we want to hear their voices and we want to have them assist in the decision-making. And so we do this through like the DEI committee, the Athletic Leadership Council, and also the school council. It's nice for us because like the DEI committee and the Athletic Leadership Council is basically made up of students, but our school council also has parents who come on a regular basis. So we have surveyed the students twice so far this year. Obviously, we do that 3 times a year just to get the feedback from those smaller groups and then identify our action steps. And so basically our winter data was really consistent with our fall data. And there were 3 areas where we fell within about a point of the fall data. And those are highlighted in those 3 charts or those graphs. So about 90% of our students state that they have an adult at school that they can count on to help them. About 90% of our students feel that our school is inclusive of all backgrounds and identities. And about 88% of our students feel that they are part of the school community. From some of the feedback that we've gotten, we've actually had some new clubs that have been formed this year based on the feedback that we've gotten. A couple of examples of those are like, we have Best Buddies, we've got an Asian Culture Club, and it all came from, the student feedback that we need to offer more and connect with different groups of people. So we're really happy and we're hoping that we can continue to expand. We do see some trends like in the request for clubs, because sometimes you graduate a group and then there's really nobody left who wants to participate in that. But then there's a new group of students come in and they have another interest. And so we've had some really great ideas pop up the last year or so with new offerings for our students, because not everybody's an athlete, If you go to the next slide, which is where we're breaking this down and getting feedback at the classroom level, you can see that actually the action step is the same, but basically we're asking our departments to survey their students at the course level and get that feedback. So if you look at that graph, about 94% of our students say that their teacher checks to make sure that they're understanding the material that they're being taught.
This is specific to the classical modern language.
Right, and so
Sorry.
that's specific to our classical and modern language department. And if you look at the picture that was posted, it's also how they've broken down the data that they got from their surveys. And so each department will be developing their own discussion protocols once they collect that data. And if you look, you can see that they have actually broken it down into those 3 kind of like buckets. But the goal is to take those student responses, break them down, just like their department did, and collate the responses, interpret that data, and then discuss the implications that come from that information. And then once they adopt this in all departments, the goal is that hopefully they will be reflective in their practices from the information that they get. It will provide teachers with understanding of learning needs. It'll improve instructional practices, strengthen student voice and engagement, monitor classroom climate, support reflective practices, and also inform instructional adjustments during that course instead of waiting until the end and making those adjustments.
This is our first year doing this. You know, in the past, we used to have the climate survey and the well-being survey, and then the student engagement survey all connected to that one school-wide approach. This past summer, we broke it out and decided for that student engagement component, having each department go through and create these surveys and then identify their own protocol that worked for them, because we felt like that student engagement question, when we were doing a school-wide, it was hard to be actionable with that, but when you're talking about at the classroom and departmental level, they feel like there's a lot more value there, and they're having some great discussions. So just again, what you're seeing highlighted here is just from one of our departments and how they're implementing it, and we've heard some great stuff from our kids, so.
What does the Best Buddies Club do?
So it takes students with various learning disabilities, and they're matched up with students who do not have learning disabilities, and they do all kinds of activities together.
Great.
There's a Best Buddies prom, but it kind of creates
We're not there
like,
yet, but-
no, we're not there, but it kind of creates like you know, they hang out and they do things as friends, but it could also be like a mentorship
Great.
situation as well.
Very cool. Any other questions for the high school team? Okay. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys.
Yep, we'll see you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Keelan, how you doing for time? You all right?
I'm fine.
I know we're running long, so.
Okay.
You have to go, okay. 6.1 fiscal year 2027 budget development discussion.
So in your packet is the document. Very similar to the last week's document. Those conversations started, went into executive session, back out, back in, and here we are again. So up at the top is your budget, like we said, and currently our budget is $36,895,004. What we know is to bring all of those items back. Again, I'm just trying to be really clear for anyone who's listening at home and to understand our budgeting process. For this current year, we're in FY '26, we had strategies to get through that, and we had to use a lot of school choice, about $400,000 worth. So to get to level services, the school committee asked me to put everything back in, as well as move all of your salaries up according to your union contracts, et cetera. So what did we need? 6.24%, which was really $2.3 million increase. We have been asked, a preliminary from the town is really to give us a 3%. We're hoping that will come to fruition, but that's just a 1.1, little over that. So what does it mean? We're short just about $1.2 million. So I wanted everyone to realize where our numbers are at. Then we started to talk about strategies and how do we get to that $1.2 million. So we've listed here, we would like to cut the curriculum renewal again, that's $80,000. Possible MOU with the ELEA again regarding professional development. That would be contingent upon, in FY '27, the 5 collaborative days to be removed. Second PD day will be moved from January to March, and the PD will be building based. If you all
Scheduled in buildings.
scheduled in buildings.
We went from a format in previous years where we centralized and everybody came to one school, that being the high school. And this year, based on discussions with the ELEA and ELPS Collaborative Committee, we moved more to a building centered in terms of where people report to, but we still have a through line in terms of what's going on with professional development from a district level, as well as also then getting into support for curriculum at that grade level or that content area.
And this would have to be voted by the whole Unit A, ELEA. The next item is reduce personalized learning software. Heather spoke about that in great depth last week. I believe that's $51,000 savings. We spoke about possibly expanding school choice by 25 slots. The school committee would be voting on that later in this meeting. We are anticipating that that will hopefully be approved, and that would be $125,000 of additional revenue coming through the revolving account, because as to remind you all, it's $5,000 as a base amount for each of those students. The existing school choice account is showing that we will have about $150,000 remaining to roll over for next year, so we'd like to use that as part of this strategy. Again, we would offset like supply lines, et cetera, like we did this year, to utilize the school choice. We did have, at the last meeting, school choice new revenue that we see on the cherry sheet, which was $355,000 is projected to come in for next year. At first, we were thinking to utilize some of that, but having further conversations, we feel that it might be better to intentionally leave the projected revenue alone so we can build that up for a few different reasons. We don't want to just rely on that, but also this budget situation that we've had for the past couple of years, we're having next year, and I anticipate it's going to be another year or two after that. So anything we can save is just going to be helpful down the road. We talked about a prepay for the LP-VEC Career Tech of $225,000. The total of the non-salary strategies is $761,000 that I just listed off. Remember, we need just about 1.2 million. Shortfall is still $433,368. However, I did feel compelled to bring to your attention, on Friday, Ms. Brown was notified that FY27 possible Title I reduction. The best case scenario is a reduction of approximately $23,000, so that's why I put that figure there. Worst case scenario is a reduction of $188,000. Heather, would you mind elaborating a little bit on that reduction and what that letter said? Was it a 10% reduction?
Across the state, based on census data and poverty. And so that's why the Title I amounts might differ.
Okay.
Federal census.
Correct.
Right, versus state. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Since it's a federal grant, they changed the mechanism that they, and how they're going to allot the money.
So adding that $23,000, which I'm hoping is all that it will be reduced, brings us to an additional $456,368 shortfall. There's only one more place that we can possibly get that from, and that would be the salary side of the budget.
Yeah, and so when will we know on that? Do we know on the
Title I,
Title I?
we just got that notification on
Yeah.
Friday. I don't,
So what they said was we are in a warning, meaning it's not a definite thing. So some districts found out they're definitely getting reduced. Ours is we're like on a precipice kind of thing. And
which is why the spreadsheet that they sent wasn't so clear.
Right,
so
gave
I
us all
actually
these
made a
different
call.
scenarios. And so what our liaison said was he does not think that we will be in that worst case scenario, but they do want to give us that heads up just in case. So fingers crossed that we will not be in that situation.
We'll know before the end of the school year.
When do those allocations come out?
The unfortunate thing is they generally come out in the summer.
Right.
So
Summertime.
it's after July.
I would think they would have some
Budget.
indicators, though, whether it's gonna, I would think that we.
Right, because every other district will be in the same predicament.
Yes.
Correct.
We're gonna all have to budget and meet
Some
any
cases,
shortfall.
I think,
Yes.
as Ms. Brown was saying, some districts know
Definite.
they're already in a huge deficit. I think actually Springfield had a situation where their Title I is significantly reduced. So, yeah, it's going to be tight. Hopefully, we get more information prior to the turn of the fiscal year of July 1, but generally, grants are confirmed as we get into July.
Yeah.
So in Munis, we have a 6.24% level services budget that was submitted to the town. So now I'm hoping that you're going to tell me to reduce that down to 3%. I'll have to make some adjustments, and then as decisions are made in the next few weeks for those details.
I hope that you're going to say increase it to 8%.
Well,
I don't know how much.
you are giving me a directive, so whatever you tell me to do, but I do
know
need-
what the town will.
Exactly, and I am being asked by the town finance director, because they have a process too, and we're one of the departments, large department, right? So they're trying to put their things together, and they're meeting with all of the departments, they've got to bring things forward, so they're anxious to know that level 2, as we call it. So that's what I'm hoping you would let me know tonight.
And this is after discussion, like for people who might be watching, like we previously were looking at a 3.2 and now we've been asked to do a 3%.
Thank you, that is correct, yes. Thank you.
And we talked about the impact on staffing. When do we foresee needing to make a decision on that?
I would say sooner rather than later, because depending on what scenario you go with, you're looking at, when you're looking at a deficit of over 400,000, you're looking at, 5, 6 or more positions. Depending on the scenario that you go with to get there, there involves notification and bumping, and there's a process that we have to start to move on.
Do we vote on those scenarios tonight?
No,
Okay.
we're just going to vote on the number, the percentage. But I know we'll create some anxiety potentially, so I just want to take care of our staff so we can give them something to look forward to.
I think ultimately we were moving through this late April, early May last year. If we can move a little bit faster on that I think would be helpful for staff, because at least they know.
So within a month or so, 4 to 5 weeks, okay.
Yep.
Other questions on the budget?
Just clarification on the Title I. So there's 2 warning categories. We're in a district is projected to be above, but within 1 percentage point of an eligibility threshold. Whereas other ones got a district is projected to be at or below an eligibility threshold. So we're hovering in that 1%.
Okay. All right, if there's no other discussion, I would ask that someone move to approve a level 2 budget submission of 3% for this week.
Move to approve a level 2, 3% budget.
Level 2.
Budget submission.
Increase, 3% increase. Yep.
3% increase.
Perfect.
I said level 2.
You got it.
That's nice.
You
Okay.
get that, Sam?
Yep.
Okay. Motion made by Antonella. Nobody's gonna second it.
I feel compelled to say that it's, after talking with the town manager, it's very disappointing that we're here again, and it's disgusting actually to think about what this might look like over the next few years, but I feel like we have no choice. We've been given no choice, so I will second the motion.
Second by Carrie. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. So you put that in.
Yeah, I'll work on that and get that to her in the next couple of
Yep.
days.
Got it. Okay, moving along, we have new business, superintendent mid-cycle formative self-assessment. Sorry. Yep, no worries.
A+, on to the next agenda.
I will go quickly. I will be brief. I know I say that a lot. And brief is better.
Ms. Gordon, come on, I'm hungry.
If you look in the shared folder, there's additional evidence. If you have any questions on what I've written here, basically I tried to capture all that was specific to the goals that has been accomplished to date through February. And just quickly, some of our biggest themes, if you will, this year was based on where we were last year at the end of the year when we had to reduce by 20 positions. We really had to bring the district together and focus on just getting back to basics and how we relate and connect with students, build those relationships, but also know how we all play a part in a student's journey through our school system. And that started back in our retreat with the leadership team, and we've been trying to stay on message and keep that through line in everything we do. In terms of the other goals, you may have noticed that we have a significant building project going on. That's moving forward really well. It's still on schedule and on budget. That's exciting to be able to say that. And tomorrow night, I will be at the town council meeting. We were invited in to the accelerated care program for the Mass School Building Authority just recently, and the town council hopefully will appropriate the funding needed for us to enter into a funding agreement with the Massachusetts School Building Authority to make a roof project happen, a new roof project happen at Maple Shade. So that's exciting as well.
Is exciting.
I'll leave it at that.
Questions? No? So we'll come back with this?
We can bring it back, it would just need a vote of some type.
Yep.
To finalize the formative assessment.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay, up next, 7.2, discussion of participation in school choice program for the 2026-2027 school year.
Okay, so in your packets, you have a breakdown of where we've been over the years from 96 to 2007 in terms of our participation in school choice. And then there's also on the second page, a breakdown of enrollment by grade level for the current year, and then some recommendations should you want to invite additional school choice students in, which was mentioned as one of the potential revenue strategies as we were discussing the budget. There are classes that are not as enrolled as highly or at the level, highly, that's probably poorly worded, I apologize, as other classes. In some cases, we're up over 200, and in some cases, we're below 160. So in the classes where we're seeing a lower enrollment, meaning grade levels, where we're seeing a lower enrollment, that's where we're recommending that we add school choice, do school choice students, should the committee want to do that.
So the proposal is 5 school choice slots for the 26-27 school year, 5 at grade 1, 10 at grade 3, 5 at each school, Mountain View, Maple Shade, 5 at 6th grade, and 5 at the 9th grade, all transition years other than first. All relatively smaller class sizes, with one exception.
So with this proposal, no school is taking more than 5.
Right. Questions, concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say what we have previously discussed, and I think, given the current situation and the way that, you know, town council is looking to go down the road, I just think we need to be mindful of watching our class sizes and what that means with the, you know, teacher to student ratio. That's what I'm concerned about. I do think that school choice brings an element of diversity into our schools, which is important, but I also see that we're becoming more and more reliant on it as a revenue stream, which is not what I think we want to be doing. So I just think it's important to say that. I mean, we want to keep our, we would like to not exceed the state average or national average with class sizes. So be mindful of all those factors.
Yeah. And I think that conversation again happens next year as well, yeah.
Yeah, because once we take these students in, we have them.
Yep. Any other questions or discussion on the school choice? Do we have to differentiate the two schools, or we just say 10 for the 3rd grade?
I think if you want to differentiate it, that's fine. We know that you're splitting that 5, because, right, in how we outlined it, 5 at each school.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion and move to approve the adding 5 students to each of the schools for school days.
Just give us.
You want me to
If you could, yeah.
5 students for first grade, 5 students for third grade, and 1 elementary in Maple Shade, 5 students in Mountain View, 5 students in Birchland, and 5 students in high school.
For 6th and 9th, Birchland High School respectively.
For 6.
And school choice.
I'm sorry.
You're doing great. Anthony.
I'll second.
Second by Carrie. Any other discussion?
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay,
Start
thank
to
you.
get this advertised.
Okay, moving right along, we have approval of the revised 2026-27 school year calendar.
So this.
One change?
Yeah, there's one change in this. I believe we had an additional day in November. So this actually might be received by our population and possibly our student, although she's graduating this year, as exciting.
Doesn't care.
Because it will bring us back one day in terms of the end of the school year. Yeah. So I think we initially had it at the 21st as the last day in June, and the 28th with 5, and this brings us back to the 17th and the 25th with 5 snow days.
Perfect. Questions?
Like it.
What do you mean we missed a day?
We had added, instead of 17 November days, we had 18 there.
I think we had 16 and we.
Oh, was it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had-
Reverse, 16.
Yes.
We added one, yeah.
Yep.
So we had 17.
See the
We had
numbers in the
only counted
corner
16.
of each month?
Clerical error.
Yeah, we just, and then they added all the
Thank you,
numbers.
Samantha. Explain that incorrectly.
Like, how did we miss a day?
It's
Correct.
blue for the, like, looks like it was a day off, but the kids are actually here for a half day on the 25th, so that's where.
Yes.
Counts, yeah.
Yeah.
Take someone to move to approve the revised 26-27 school year calendar.
I move to approve the revised 26-27 school calendar.
Motion made by Carrie. Second. Second by William, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Reminder, Spartana, March 13th and 14th, here at the high school, 7 PM. I think you can get tickets at the door. Tickets at the
I
door.
think they're selling them online, and I know like students can get them at lunch, but I'm not sure about.
How do people get them online? To the website?
Yeah, I think so.
Go to the high school webpage, right?
I think so.
March 17th, Mountain View Spirit Day, we're green. And then we have the tour of the high school, the open house, what was that date?
That was April 11th.
April 11th, 3 to 5 PM.
We're looking to go 3, it's a Saturday, so it's 3 to 5 to open up the current building for anybody who might be interested in touring it one more time. It's not a time to take souvenirs because school is still in session. We've had a lot of people ask about that.
Really?
May I have a locker, may I have a chair, different things.
Bricks, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no,
I've actually asked from a fundraising perspective, like if we were going like for boosters or the scholarship fund, if we would be like, take a piece of the floor or something, but.
there's a limited amount of time that we might be able to do something like that, because it's really that you're out one day and Fontaine would like us out the next day in terms of getting everything out. So I think there is going to be some discussion about that, but I don't know how.
Maybe
How much of
out
it
to the
will
East
come to
Coast
fruition?
scholarship fund, they were looking.
Yeah, I think the question would be what the potential is for that, because if it's not significant, it will be somewhat of a burden because the time frame is so tight, but we can discuss it, there's still time.
Just to give you an idea of the time frame, so you have central office moving, this entire annex basically is moving in April. That first day of April vacation, this whole area will be vacated. Then further into the spring, we're going to conduct a virtual auction where everything in the building has the possibility to be bid upon for anyone who might be, with the exception of things that have been claimed internally by other buildings. if they are bid upon and the bid's accepted, they have, the individuals that purchase that equipment or furniture will come and pick that up the day after school gets out.
But my understanding, just to add to that, if you don't mind, Gordon, is that it's not gonna be like individual desks, it's gonna be in lots.
In lots.
Lots of things.
All the desks,
Yeah, like it's,
all the
All the
kitchen
student
equipment,
just want everybody to know, you can't just bid on like one.
one desk, yeah.
Or one brick.
We don't need to get into it tonight, but I did get a few questions from some parents that were concerned about what was happening with abatement and why students were in the building and making sure that
In terms of this annex?
we're not gonna.
Yeah.
Right.
No, they will have it completely sealed with an actual wall that they set up.
We're gonna give up this whole this
And
annex.
this building is not gonna be, this part, nothing is being taken down while the students are here. That was the concern from some families, that like we were not.
As far as I understand it,
They were.
they're just doing the abatement.
That's good. I'll have to
Or were
get
they
more-
hurt, I
I'll
think.
get more information on
That
that.
demolition would happen after school hours, is that what you mean?
I don't believe
But
that.
regardless, I think there's a
Kids leave.
concern that there's, you know,
Well, we'll get clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get back.
I do know for the abatement that they will have that completely sealed.
That hallway. they're
And
blocking off.
they'll have to have it tested to make sure that they can continue with the abatement if we have people in the building inside.
Okay, anything else? So moved.
second.
Second by Carrie, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, nay. That motion carries 4-0.